Hey, welcome back, guys. It's episode 26, and it's on to the back half of the 50/50 showcase, starting with my first Dominator. Rear into the Dominator is probably my favorite archetype in the City of Heroes game here on the Homecoming servers, the Excelsior Shard. This is Miranda. This is a playstyle I promise that those of you who enjoy brutes, scrapper tanks, savage beatdown type of players, this one's for you. Gravity, Earth, Primal. Just a savage beast Miranda is. This is not the type of dominator probably a lot of people want a chance because you, my friend, if you choose to run this build, are going to be diving into melee and you are just going to be pulverizing your foes with barely any defenses, the low hit points of a Dominator, with nothing but a few controls and some thumping, slamming hammers and fists between you and death. Every single group, every single mob. It's that knife's edge type of in your face, beating people senseless. So playstyle. So if that's up to you're into, this is for you. Let's take a look at the build, shall we? All right, here is Miranda. As I mentioned, this is gravity control. I have just about all of the powers, but a couple things. As a Dominator, I almost never, ever, ever take the single target immobilize, and a lot of times I never take the AoE immobilize. There's a reason I took the AoE immobilize on Miranda, which I'll talk about, but almost never, ever, ever do I take the single target immobilize. This is not a controller. Okay, Dominators are not a controller. So if you were thinking you coming from blue side controllers and oh yeah, Dominators are just controllers with some, punches and blasts. No, absolutely not. So don't confuse that because this is really just a wasted pick. Now, I will say in combination with Earth Assault, it might not be because this is essentially a ranged attack for you. And most Dominators have better single target ranged attacks in their assault set. So that's why it's really kind of pointless to take the single target immobilize. You have plenty of single target blasts in your assault set. Now, the reason I hesitate is because Earth Assault, and the reason I'm actually playing it is because it's a very melee heavy set. So you might, on the exception here, take your single target crush. But I already have lift, I already have gravity distortion, I already have propel. These are three single target attacks, aka controls right here. So that's actually going to fill in the gap that Earth Assault has in single target attacks. So this is actually a beautiful pairing of power sets, even though you might at first think there's no way ranged gravity is a control set. Team it up with some melee smashing Earth Assault. That just doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that? Well, this is why, because they complement each other. You're going to be in melee a whole bunch because of Earth Assault, but you've got gravity to open up at ranged whenever you want, and you can throw, of course, gravity attacks while you're in melee. So it doesn't really matter. But anyway, I didn't take Crush because I almost never take a single target immobilize on any of my Dominators. I've got plenty of single target stuff usually in the assault set. In this case, you don't, but because gravity control has so many other single target controls attacks, you can just fill in your gaps right here anyway. So what's the point of Crush? It's just a low damage over time, you know, soft control. I don't need it. And the same goes for your AoE immobilize. However, I did take Crushing Field, and that's because, as I was just alluding to, Earth Assault does not have much in the way of ranged attacks, and it does not have much at all in the way of AoE stuff, so you can't really do anything with it. So anyway, that is the deal with the immobilizes. I took Crushing Field, helps to fill in a gap of AoE ranged attack. And you'll see that I've slotted it, and I haven't really talked too much yet about any of the sets at all. I do have one of the Dominator ATO sets sitting in here. And so I'm really not slotted for the damage on this thing. I'm actually slotted for the control, but again, I'm really not even going to worry about that. The main thing I have it here is I'm going to grab it for the chance for plus damage, which you'll see. Plus, it has some damage boosting set. It's pretty much for the set bonuses, right? So you take a look. It gives you the plus 10% recharge, which I want because you're going to see that this is a perma dominator, perma domination, permadom build here. So I have it for really the set bonuses, the recharge, the accuracy, the damage. I'm not taking it because it's a damaging attack. I'm not taking it because I need that particular control, the AoE immobilize, but it is a spammable plus chance for damage with the Ascendancy, the Dominator proc in it. So that's really the reason I've taken Crushing Field here. But there's plenty of Dominator gravity control builds that you do not need either one of these immobilizes because typically you have plenty of ranged attacks that meet that requirement in your assault set or your uh, patron or epic pools. Anyway, but that aside, I've taken pretty much everything in gravity control with the exception of the single target immobilize. And here's the other thing I'm going to say right now. I never, ever, ever, ever take, ever, these stupid, intangible phase powers. Okay, I don't care what excuse you have or rationale for how and when you could possibly use it. I can always tell you there's always something better in your arsenal that you could use. I mean, you're phasing a whole group. If you've never seen Dimension Shift before, well, consider yourself lucky. But it's this terrible ranged AoE phase power that shifts everybody that's within this dome, this bubble, out of phase with everybody else who's outside of the bubble. So all it does is messes up a bunch of people's attacks, confuses your allies. People are wondering why they can't hit things anymore, why they can't buff or heal their allies that are standing in front of them anymore. Why? Because there's a freaking dimension shift bubble separating you. You have to be inside of it. And vice versa, you have to be outside of it. So it's just the stupidest freaking power ever. I don't care what somebody says. Oh, well, it's great when there's this oh shit moment. No. No, no, no. There's always something better than that. So if I had my way, I would have trashed this power ages ago. I don't care how many times they revamp it. It sucks, sucks, sucks. Anyway, I didn't take it. I have everything else though, and then you'll see that I've taken a bunch of Earth Assault, mostly the melee stuff like Stone Mallet, Tremor, Heavy Mallet, Seismic Smash, Fissure, even though it is, since it's targeted, ranged, the range on this thing is Pee-wee. It's like 20 feet, so it's pretty much another PB AoE, a little bit of range. I didn't bother taking Mud Pots. That's just your little stupid energy draining toggle. It's okay, but it's not going to save you. It's not going to do a bunch of damage. Yeah, you could proc it out, blah, blah, blah. But again, there's better options in my opinion. If you're going pure melee, yeah, maybe if you're doing like fire control slash earth where you're running both hot feet and mud pots simultaneously, that could be interesting. Or if you're running ice control where you've got Arctic or Arctic air, is it? The PBOE or a slow, that might be interesting. But it's a small little radius. What is the super radius? I don't think it's what, 15 feet. That's really not that much. And it really just draws a lot of aggro on you that you probably don't need. It's not like it's going to stop somebody from beating your brains in, right? It's got an immobilize and a minus speed. It's not going to stop attacks, slow attacks, whatever. I don't think it even has a minus recharge. It's just the movement speed. Anyway, didn't take that. I didn't bother with Hurl Boulder, even though I like Hurl Boulder. I don't have a problem with it in Earth Assault at all, and I've taken it on other Earth Assault Dominators. But see my earlier notes on I have several single target attacks here anyway, so Lift, Gravity, Distortion, and especially Propel are the equal to or perhaps superior of Hurl Boulder anyway, and because I'm actually more focused on the melee side of things, I didn't need a potential knockback. It's kind of a slow attack. It's a little bit long in the animation time. So, it compared to Lift, which is a knock up, compared to Propel, which is also knockback. These, in my opinion, are superior. They're faster, more damage, etc. I don't know. So, this seems redundant. So, I guess you could take Hurl Boulder and not take Lift, let's say. I guess that's possible. But I think Lift is just a more of a guaranteed knock up. Propel's more of a guaranteed knock back. I don't know if Hurl Boulder is guaranteed or not. It says you're able to tear it up, it deals moderate damage and can knock foes back. So I don't even think it's a guaranteed KB. So anyway, didn't take it, right? I've got plenty of other single target stuff. So that's kind of the overall concept of the build here. It's melee, it's permadom. You're gonna go in and you are brutally going to dominate people with big old hammers, stone mallet, heavy mallet, and big old punchy smashes like seismic smash. And I took Primal Forces Mastery, which has the glorious energy transfer, which is another big, heavy hitting, thumping, punching attack. So between those two hammers and those two huge punches, I mean, she's going to be doing, I don't want to say brute level or scrapper level damage, but she is going to lay down some damage on single targets. You'll have to see it in action to see what I'm talking about. The other thing that kind of goes with this is I really did try to push for, damage as an overall concept here. So, I have a few sets that give me some plus damage. I think it's only like 18.5%, so it's not, huge. But that's not where I'm going to get the majority of my damage boosting. Where I'm going to get it is here in Stone Spears. I have chance for build up, and the aforementioned Crushing Field has the Ascendancy of the Dominator, which has a chance for plus damage. If these two things proc, which they will, the build up and the plus damage here, combined with that 18.5% other set bonus damage, taking a look at my advanced totals, you guys can't see this on your screen, but I'll pull it up and tell you. Uh, with all those damage procs hitting and just my natural damage, I'm going to be doing 207, almost 208% damage. So I'm doing an extra 107%. So in other words, I'm double damage with all of my attacks, just if that proc build up and the plus damage. So if I'm throwing some stone spears and spamming some crushing field, I'm gonna have that activated. I'm gonna be doing double damage on stuff. It's gonna be brutal. Okay. Other than that, take a look at the sets. You can see I've got kind of a lot of like weird, perhaps looking thing. This is an expensive build. This is like, no lie, right? I've got a purple set here, the Armageddon. I've got another purple set, Apocalypse. I've got the ATO I was talking about, the Ascendancy, the Dominator, the superior version. I've got the Hecatomb down here, which is another purple set. I've got the purple set, Absolute Amazement. I've got a couple of half sets of the winter set here, Blistering Cold. What else? Anything else that's super expensive? Unbreakable Guard's a little bit pricey. I think I've got a couple Luck of the Gamblers in here. Yeah, I got like, what, two, three, four of those, something like that. I think only got two of them. I didn't even need any more. Hey, why do I have all these purples and expensive things? I mean, this is easily half billion here, more. I mean, if you try to buy this, it's definitely more. I mean, I get most of my purples just from drops in the game, and then I craft them and convert them. Because you play enough, you're gonna get, a purple drop every whatever couple days or something like that. So anyway, I don't typically buy purples. I just craft them and flip them with converters. I will buy the ATOs just through the loot packs you can get, which are 10 million a pop, and then you'll get one or two ATOs usually, and then you can convert those into whatever you need. And then the winter set's the same idea. You can get those through winter packs. You could also get them, I think, through just a bunch of merits. So if you're running task forces and things, you can do that. So if you're going to sit here and literally buy all the stuff off the market, yeah, it's probably going to cost you a billion. But I didn't. Most of the stuff I just flipped from my own supply of things. But that's the advantage of having played for a while. But anyway, it's an expensive build. I'm not lying. But the main reason why is because you're shooting for permadomination And if you don't know what that is, real simple. It is well, first of all, hey, what's domination? Domination, if you've never played a Dominator, this is a clickable inherent power that boosts pretty much doubles your magnitude of all your controls. It also gives you a damage boost. So I'm gonna lock this for you. You can kind of take a look yourself. So each time you attack, your domination bar builds until it's full, and then this power becomes active, and then you can click it. And once you do that, like I said, it's going to boost up your controls like 50% more duration. You're also going to increase your magnitude. It recharges your endurance bar. It gives you a damage boost on all your attacks. It's just the all around state of what you want to be as a dominator. So everybody's trying to go for domination. And if you're not using domination, you heard me critique in one of my earlier videos. I forget, I think it was when I was playing Corruptors or something like that. On a team with a couple dominators, and it's like I was never seeing domination. I'm like, why? If domination is not flying, then you're not playing a dominator correctly, in my opinion. So that's the whole point. Your whole point of this archetype is to build domination and click it and then dominate your enemies. It's that straightforward. And you do that by attacking. And when that bar is full, you click it. You don't save it for the boss, you click it. Because if you build for enough recharge, your domination will be recharged and ready to go when the boss comes around anyway. And if you can get enough total recharge in your build, which is 140%, so if you can get 140% total global recharge, you'll have what's known as perma domination. This domination bar will be active all the time. You just set it to auto fire, and as soon as the bar fills, it fires again, and you constantly refilling your domination, constantly getting that magnitude boost, the control duration boost, the endurance bar refill, the boost to your attack damage there. And you can see in my build here that I've got 181.3% recharge. So I am, 41% above the bare minimum recharge I need. Part of that is from hasten, but the rest of it is from all these set bonuses. So that's why if you go back and look at the sets I've chosen, almost all of them are giving me some recharge somewhere. So the Decimation set has recharge. The Basilisk Gaze has recharge. The purple sets, they all have recharge. This ATO for Dominators, it has recharge, etc., etc., etc. The Luck of the Gambler, they have the recharge. So all this stuff is recharge, 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 recharge everywhere. The only thing I didn't, get recharged would be like the sudden accelerations because that requires 6 slotting those to get 7.5% recharge. But I did do that in Explosive Blast. But for these guys, I just like some of the other set bonuses, the maximum endurance and the damage buff. And that's kind of the other part of this whole thing is that you also have to be mindful of your endurance because even though domination, when it fires, will refill your blue bar because you have so much recharge, because you're firing your attacks so fast and furious, you're gonna blow through that that refill bar all the time. So you need to be concerned about you know endurance management. And so that's why you'll see here I've kind of went for my beloved 2-to-1. So bare minimum I got 3-2 recovery versus 1-4 drain, but I've got a lot of high endurance consuming powers. A lot of these thumping attacks that I have in Earth Assault, like Seismic Smash, for instance, that is check this out. The endurance cost in that is 18.5 out of the box. Even with my slotting, I've got it to 12.6. That's a huge amount of endurance. Energy transfer, that one is 19.11 out of the box. I've got it down to 10. Where's a heavy mail? It's another big one. That one costs 14 out of the box. Stone mail, it costs 8.5. So if you were to just take a swing with energy transfer 19, seismic smash 18, that's 37. Heavy mallet, there's 14 more. That's 47.51, and then stone mallet, another 8.50. You get like 60 endurance, so 60% of your endurance just with those 4 attacks in one single attack chain. You're gonna blow through over half of your endurance. Bam, 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 bam. Half your endurance, 60% is gone immediately. Crushing Field is a high endurance cost. That's 15.6 out of the box. That's another reason why I don't like taking the AoE immobilizers with Dominators. They're very endurance hungry and low accuracy. So anyway, guys, you take a look. This build, check it out. Explosive Blast, 28 endurance. Energy Torrent, 14.8. Those are huge endurance costs. So this build has to have as much endurance mitigation and recovery as I can possibly manage. So not only was I shooting for high recharge, the 181 you see, but I also had to get as much recovery and lower my endurance costs as much as I could. So that's where a lot of my choices of sets and bonuses and such came in. So if a set also gave recovery, like for instance the purple set here, Armageddon, you get some recovery with two. You get some, where is it? Not that one. It's a Decimation. Decimation has maximum endurance. You know, why did I take these sudden accelerations? They have maximum endurance, you know, bonuses with three. So anyway, a lot of these slotting choices, if you're going for permadomination, a lot of your build choices are already locked in. You have to go for plus recharge as much as you can get. Now, unlike some people who just go full on, hey, luck of the gamblers, and try to take, and this is a disagreement I have with a lot of Dominator builds or a lot of Dominator players, what they try to do is they find like set mules and they're going to take as many plus defense powers as they can, not necessarily because they want defense, but just because they want to throw a luck of the gambler in there. So they'll take a bunch of powers they're not even going to use, like let's say vengeance, just to throw luck of the gambler in there, which steers your build, in my opinion, unnecessarily into some wasted sets, or not wasted sets, but like wasted power pools and picks when it's totally unnecessary. Okay, I've only got two luck of the gamblers, and I've got perma domination at 181, right? So I didn't do that. I went with a bunch of purple sets, which are going to enhance my damage. They're going to enhance my controls in some cases. And I went with the ATOs. So I went with some other sets that are going to help me, like Gravity Distortion Field. I put the Basilisk sets in there. Only four necessary. I get 7.5% recharge. That's the same as Luck of the Gambler, right? But I'm actually going to use these two control powers. I'm going to use all these attacks with the purple sets in them. So I'm going to be using all the powers for which I dumped a lot of the recharge into. So it's not a wasted pick for me. Again, that's my own personal way of doing it. Now, some people also build heavy for defense. Heavy recharge, heavy defense, that's their Dominator build, and it's pretty much the same build every Dominator they make. I've done it differently. I've gone with lots of damage sets, lots of knockbacky sets, and a fairly high amount of melee survivability with some defense and some smash lethal. But mainly, I am just relying on brute force pummeling enemies into soup for survival, and I went with a lot of damage, as I already talked about, and I'm also going for a lot of endurance reduction because, as I just mentioned, I have a lot of high endurance powers, so it doesn't matter how great my recharge is if I run out of the blue bar, right? And then you're constantly fighting to get more recharge to get your domination faster to fill your blue bar, but at the same time your recharge is so high that you're firing so many powers that your blue bar is going in the opposite direction. So it's a catch 22 or the whole E equals MC squared type of concept there. Hey, why can't we fly light speed? Because you need so much fuel that the mass of the rocket or whatever is so heavy that you can't get enough energy or whatever the heck the equation's talking about. Anyway, that's the overall sort of build that you're seeing, and then to supplement everything else I've been talking about, I have my incarnates. So here I've got cardiac core, because that's going to be endurance reduction, right? So if you take a look and I activate that, it's giving me endurance reduction, range. Range is nice because it helps with some of those short range, like Fisher, like I was talking about. energy torrent, explosive blast, those types of things. It boosts that. Plus your controls have better range, and wormhole really loves extra range. We'll take a look at that in practice, and damage resistance. So if you take a look, when I activate that incarnate, you can see my end drain drops to 1. So now my recovery is 3.2 to 1. I've got a nice 3 to 1 ratio. I love 3 to 1 ratios. You can also see my smash lethal is pretty close to cap. Fire and cold is decent at 20%. My defense is, not anything awesome, right? Because I'm not going to be, even though I'm going into melee a lot, I'm not going to be some tanky dude who's going to take a beating. No, I have to defend myself by dominating the enemy first with the controls. Then I go in there and pound them. These numbers are pretty much just to keep me alive long enough until I can finish the foe, which is, the main goal here. I've grabbed Mighty, which I love Mighty. Judgment, you'll see that again in practice. It works beautifully with any melee attack set like this one. I've got Paralytic over here, which is the minus defense, minus damage. That's going to give me some more survivability with the minus damage. It's going to give me the ability to hit targets more easily because Dominators don't necessarily have the to hit buffing that, let's say, a blaster or a corrupt or so like that. I've got power up, which is plus special plus damage, so that is not going to boost my to hit, right? It's going to give me more plus damage. If I click this, my overall damage, I forgot to mention this, my overall damage is now going to be 241%, almost 242. So I'm doing an extra 140 some percent damage with every attack once power up is activated. Anyway, when I click that, that's going to boost those defenses that you see. So my defenses come up into the teens, which is, better. I'm going to be doing more damage. I've got Paralytic, lower in defenses, so I'm able to hit more easily. I've got Ageless. This is critical to, I think, a Dominator high recharge, high endurance cost build. Ageless gives me even more recharge when I click that. My numbers go to 251% recharge. But check out my recovery, 13.6 versus the 1 drain. So that's beautiful, right? Gives you an endurance shot. So it's the equivalent of domination where you're getting the endurance recovery from it. You're getting the recovery and you get the extra recharge, which makes everything else great. Then I've got the control core where I'm going to be doing some extra psi damage with all my attacks and boosting my magnitude of all my controls, which I haven't even mentioned yet, by +1. I got the Banished Pantheon, of course, those beautiful little pets. But if let's just take a look at the controls now, you'll kind of see the final beauty of this build. I've got some decent ranged knock up and knock back with something like lift and propel. So that is actually a nice little opener. Like if I have a tough enemy or somebody, that can mez me or whatever, I can lift them. Propel's a nice, little splash AoE knockback for a bunch of people. So like those two attacks can be nice little controls. Same thing with Stone Spears has a nice knock up. So between Lift, Stone Spears, and Propel, those three make a great early game trio of rotating attacks on groups of 3, 4, 5 at a time. You can knock them up, knock them back, wham, bam, bam, bam. Tremor. This one has some knockback as well. That's a little PBAOE, so you can stomp and things go flying. So you've got some decent knockback, knock-ups just with your first handful of powers right here. So in a early game, these are your bread and butter controls and damage attacks. Once you start bringing more of these controls online, you're going to switch to a much more AoE focused range control. You got Crushing Field, that's an AoE immobilize. It's not gonna, you're not leading with that unless you want to get destroyed. So don't lead with Crushing Field. You can use that later in your attack chain. You got Gravity Distortion Field, so that's going to be a nice, AoE control. My recharge on this thing, it's down to 57 seconds, right? And the duration is 44 seconds. So it's pretty much going to keep things held for the bulk of the fight. Then I've got Wormhole. That's your bread and butter ranged AoE stun control. If you've not seen this, it's essentially a TP foe, but you teleport a whole bunch of dudes and you throw them wherever your wormhole, wherever you want to point it at. The recharge on this thing, it's 20 seconds. So every 20 seconds, this thing is up, and it's going to chuck people and stun them for like up to a minute if they're even level. So it's huge, right? Boom. I've got the knockback to knock down in there so that you don't necessarily scatter, but I don't even think that's that big of a deal if you do scatter them. It depends on where you throw them. But remember, all these things to be magnitude plus ones with that control hybrid on top of everything else. But here's sort of the secret hidden beauty of this whole combo is the hidden stuns and knockouts. Like you take a look at Stone Mallet here, I put the chance to hold proc from Blistering Cold in there, right? So it's gonna do knockback and it can hold somebody at the same time. Heavy Mallet does some knockback. You've got Seismic Smash has a hold proc that it can fire. Naturally, Energy Transfer has a faux stun that it throws in there. Fissure also has some knockback in it. Energy Torrent has knockback in it. Explosive Blast has knockback in it. I think you know where I'm going here. I've got all these little holds and knockups, knockbacks, knockdowns, smash them, stacking holds with gravity distortion field, wormhole stuns, which can stack with energy transfer. So you combine all this stuff is going to be flopping up and down as I'm just beating on them, stomping them, slamming them, cramming them, jamming them, you name it. It's going to be a brutal, brutal assault, which I love, love this character's build style. I mean, again, it's not for the faint of heart. So if that's not your thing, getting into melee and just creaming people, then you don't want to play this. But if you just want to get in there and just start wrecking stuff, this is for you. All right, I've talked tons about this build, as you can tell. So let's get down to business and actually showcase it in some solo missions and then some teamwork. All right, be right back.